So we were in the middle of talking about how Bobo had maybe slowed the game down a little bit there after we took the 14-3 lead, and I was giving Bobo some credit in the sense that he was trying to take a little bit of the air out of the game, and this was that time of the game where we normally would having taken a 14-3 lead, having really dominated the game so far, this is a time where Georgia likes to take the air out of the game and start running the ball down the other team. You'll see sometimes we did that against Tennessee, where one of those middle drives in second, third quarter where we just took, in fact, coming out, now I remember for sure, coming out of the second half, we took the ball trailing 21-17. We took the ball to start second half, and we just went right down the field, just run. I think there was one pass to Frazier that was a screen pass, and otherwise the entire drive down the field, score a touchdown, was all running plays. And you just see Georgia want to do that a lot, where we're just going to come out and pound the ball down. If you're watching on the video podcast, by the way, you may have noticed my look has changed a little bit, and yeah, I had to step away for a few moments, so I apologize about that. If that throws you off, you're like, whoa, all of a sudden he's wearing a sweatshirt. Yeah. So anyway, just to go ahead and answer that, because some of you might all of a sudden look when you see it spliced together and be like, whoa, did he change? I did. So so we're back, and we're jumping back in where we were. Like I said, we're talking about how the flow of the game, and this whole segment was saying, first of all, dogs win. Then we started talking about the fact that this game actually has flowed a little bit like the 3 games against Texas within the last 13 months have all had the same result, happily. Number 1, that we won, right? Number 2, this is the second time we won by double digits. One of the games, the SEC championship game, went to overtime, obviously, but the other 2 were 30-something to 10-something scores, right? We're in the 10s. So again, the first game at Texas last year, 30-15. The home rematch, or the rematch here in Sanford Stadium on the home and home, I guess, if you look at it from one season to the next, we win 35-10. So a lot of continuity there. This game clearly much more of a blowout than the other one. But there was sort of the same flow, which is to say we jumped out to a big lead, dominating the first half in the game there. Texas gets the ball to start the second half last year, comes down, drives, gets the touchdown 2-point conversion. Now it's 23-8. And then the interception becomes is the big controversial play. But the net result of that is they end up they end up with first and goal. 2 plays later, they're in the end zone, and now it's a 30-15 game. And us Bulldog fans at that point are feeling a little tense. We dominated the first half, as exciting and good a game as we'd had all season up to that point, and just a great moment, dominating a number 1 team on the road. And now all of a sudden, where you were up 23-0, you're up a good 3-4 scores, depending on how you look at that. We're up, in that game to start. Now, all of a sudden, it's 23-15, and they're within a touchdown and an extra point of tying this game up. And that's kind of how this game flowed too, right? All of a sudden, after we throw an interception, they get down and they take advantage of the interception. They get down to our end of the field and they score the touchdown, and now it's 14-10, and saying, this is we're starting to be a little tense as Georgia fans, and this game sort of flowed the same way. And I was just speaking to the idea, I'm sure some of us would be tempted, and I've been in that boat too. We've all had moments where we're going to be a little critical of Bobo. I think I'm a little more supportive than some. I know a lot of people just think one of the biggest things holding us back is Bobo. Bobo is a Bulldog. He's a Bulldog quarterback. He's been a Bulldog. Yes, he's traveled around like a lot of coaches and had to coach other places, but his heart is in being a Bulldog, and he has produced some. When he has been the offensive coordinator, we have had some of the best offenses in the history of Georgia football. That being said, there are some moments where it felt like creativity was lacking. I know the idea that, again, run up the middle, Bobo. Just keep doing that. I know. I've heard that criticism. I know a lot of you think that way, and it probably felt that way for a moment in this game. But I did think in this game, when you're playing a top team like that and you've got them on the ropes, and you're a run power team like Georgia is, it makes a lot of sense to try to run up the middle. And not just run up the middle, but try and see if you can run the ball down their throat, and just sort of that's sort of that next phase of just taking the will out of the other team, right? So, But it didn't work. Okay, so the first drive, and I actually erroneously said we go 3 and out on both of those first 2 runs. We didn't. I was looking at it, and the first one we actually start off with an 8-yard run, then a short pass, another short pass, and we pick up the first down. But then after that first down, then we have a Bowens gets the ball and he loses a yard, and then Gunnar only throws 5. A lot of people have made this point, and this is really a good point to focus on. Gunnar has 5 incompletions in this game, right? So over 80% completion in the game, and just another outstanding game from him. But these drives we're talking about here, where we bogged down a little bit, this is, again, I'm giving Texas credit on the defense. This is the pass rush was definitely, they were doing both. They were stopping the run and they were getting pressure in on Gunnar in a hurry, and he was having to think about, and Bobo was having to think about short, quick passes. So after we get the first down, which includes a nice 8-yard run to start the drive, Bowens loses after the first down on 1st and 10 again. Bowens loses a yard. Gunnar drops back to pass. He's under pressure, and it's an incomplete pass. So now it goes from 2nd and 11 to 3rd and 11. And Gunnar does get off again with pretty good pass rush. He gets off another quick pass, but it's not a pass that's beyond the sticks at 11 yards, so it's a 7-yard pass. So we come up short and we end up punting on 4th and 4. And so then the next drive, then Texas gets the ball, they drive into our territory, and then that's where we get the interception. And you're thinking, great, here's our chance. But they drove 41 yards. So the interception takes place all the way down at the Georgia 29. So it's not a short field situation. We're back on our side of the field because they did successfully drive before the interception. So we get the ball. This time we do go 3 and out, right? So it's a 2-yard run. Now you're faced with 3rd and 6, which doesn't sound that bad. At least it's 3rd and manageable. But again, Texas has a pretty good pass rush going. Gunnar's got to get rid of the ball in a hurry. The ball is incomplete. And so yet again, here we are at 4th and 6 from our own 29-yard line, and we got to pass the ball, and we got to punt again. So this is deflating. But again, I think that it's not just that the run didn't work, and you got 2 of Gunnar's 5 incompletions come in this part of the game too, these 2 drives. So I wanted to make that point, that I know that, again, had we had a little more dynamic plays earlier in those sequence, then maybe Gunnar's not just in 3rd and obvious throwing situation, right? But again, to Bobo's credit, we're going to get the ball one more time in the half, and I'm still sitting there thinking, all right, come on, we got another chance. Here's our 3rd chance and this seems like the best and the most important chance, right? Because now the way the timing has worked, the way the coin flip has worked out, this looks like we're getting the ball with roughly 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the half. So I'm thinking, okay, this is perfect. This is our opportunity to just burn the rest of this clock, at least get a field goal, get down there and get a field goal, get some momentum back. I want a touchdown, but I'm thinking I'll live with the field goal because we've lost momentum here offensively a little bit, right? So if we can just get down there and get a field goal, we get the ball to start the second half. I'm counting on our team to make good adjustments, come out and just, take it to them on the first drive of the second half. So I'm thinking if we just get a field goal to end the half, then we get the ball and we can go down and get a touchdown to start the second half. We put 10 points on the board before Texas touches the ball again, and it's still it's still at this point a 14-3 game. So 10 points would make it a 24-3 game. A few minutes into the 3rd quarter, if we drive and score on the touchdown right after the half. So that feels like, okay, if we get to a few minutes into the 3rd quarter and we're up 24-3, I feel like we can play keep away and just manage this game to a nice, easy win, right? So, and I'm sure, look, this isn't original. I'm sure all of you are thinking it. We all know Kirby has emphasized what they call that middle 8, right? So the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And the way this game has flowed, despite having a couple drives in a row that have stalled out here and gone nowhere, we're still up 14-3 is sort of my point. We get the ball with just under 3 minutes to go in the half. Perfect amount of time to just take your time, not have to rush, run a sort of hybrid 2-minute, 4-minute offense. I guess you really would call it your 4-minute offense. Get down there, at least get a field goal. I mean, look, I didn't want to settle for the field goal. I'm thinking 2 touchdowns, and we're up 28-3, and this game is over. We're 5 minutes into the third quarter, and we're up 28-3. Even against a good team like Texas, I feel like we can get it done. Now, of course, earlier in the day, if you're watching in the scores and TV, near a TV, you saw Texas A&M rally from 30-3. So, but Texas A&M's been a little more dynamic offensive team this year than Texas. So I'm not that worried that we can't hold on. And I think, we've got a better overall team, obviously, than South Carolina. So I'm not worried that if we get up 28-3, we can't hold Texas the rest of the way. So, that's what I'm still thinking, despite the fact that we lost momentum, this is our opportunity. And look, Bobo, to his credit, he dials up, he gets off of the run plays on first down. So on this third drive, he's recognized, now look, run. We're not running. We've given our offense and our offensive line 2 chances to say, all right, now's the time where we take over the game, and we ram it down their throat. Didn't work. So he adjusts, and he comes out passing on first down. And we get a nice nifty pass, one of those pass seam sort of seam route, wheel route type routes to Oscar Delp, and you get a 23-yard pass on first down. And this is great because we're also pinned in after Texas' last punt. We're pinned in down to our 16-yard line. So 23-yard pass. Now we're out to our own 40, and you see the midfield logo, and we're out close to midfield. And now I think, great, here we go. We're off and running. We got a big first down, and most of the time that's how. Look, in all of football, that's how things go, right? If you can pick up that big first down, a lot of times that's where you see drives go on to have 5, 8, 10 plays and get into scoring position. If you can't pick up that first down, obviously end up punting. But I'm just saying, a lot of times it's that first play can be a big play like that. So and look, we didn't just die there either. So the momentum kicks in. We get the 23-yard pass, then we have a 3-yard run, 8-yard run. So now you've got another first down again. So you got 11 yards on the next 2 runs. So boom. Now we're mixing it up, passing, running. But on 1st and 10, we go back to the run and we get a 1-yard run. So again, Texas starts clamping down. They've got pretty quick pressure, and we get out a 5-yard pass. At the time, I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. At least we're somewhere. Now we're down to 3rd and 4, and that's a makeable third down. Yet again, this time we go for, this actually becomes a read option play. And by the way, the 8-yard run earlier in this is to give Bobo credit again, mixing it up. Bobo's already used one of those wide receiver screens, or not wide receiver screen, like a jet sweep type run. Dylan Bell is going to get the ball on a crossing. He does a cross in front of Gunner. Gunner gets the ball to him. He gets out to the outside on a sort of end around wide receiver toss, and he gets the 8-yard run on that one. That was a play that looked like it could have gone for more. So we get a tight end pass down the seam. We get an end around to a wide receiver, and Dylan Bell, our Swiss Army knife guy who gets those kind of things done. So we're using some creative plays here to try and get moving. And so when we get to 3rd and 4, the play here is RPO. And so the RPO on this one is that Gunner's going to keep the ball. And unfortunately, he made the wrong read. So this isn't just, I guess that's the other thing I want to say. I'm not trying to rip on Gunner. Gunner had a great game again, and Gunner has been our stud this year, right? He's our dog. He's our leader, and he's getting it done. And I think we all believe in Gunner now. But what happens in this sequence is, Zachariah Branch comes around for, he comes between the line on the shotgun snap. He comes between the line and Gunner. So he's out in front of Gunner, and Gunner has the opportunity on the RPO to give the ball to Branch or keep it. And he just makes the wrong read. If he gives the ball to Branch, I'm not sure that anybody stops him. There was good blocking to the outside. I mean, look, he might have got tripped up. He might have got 3 yards. He might have got 10 yards. It's always easy to say on a play that never happened, you didn't get the ball to that guy, oh, that would have been a touchdown. I'm not saying for sure it would have been a touchdown, but if you look at it, I went back, looked at the play, the blocking is out there, and just with a little bit of blocking, you know what Branch has been able to do. So I think there's a reasonable, excuse me, I have to take another sip if you're watching on video I still have the Chalice of Champions here today. So sorry I clear my throat, get a little water there, but so Branch gets that ball. I'm sure he gets the first down. I feel pretty confident about that, right? So he only has to get 4 yards. He might bust it for a long play. He might bust it all the way for a touchdown. I think it had that kind of play. But for whatever reason, Gunner, and I'm sure part of it is Gunner just wants to, make sure that I think he's probably thinking it's 3rd and 4. He thinks he's got the opportunity to get the ball up the middle and get that first down, and so he probably hangs on to it himself. It was the wrong read. He doesn't. He takes a 1-yard loss on the play, and so instead of getting the first down, now we got a punt again right before the half. So we're not going to have that opportunity to get that extra little pass. What do you call it? That little. Anyway, what am I trying to say? Get the 2-for-1 deal right before the end of the half. So, but hey, I'm still thinking we still got the chance at least to get the ball. The team's going to go in. They're going to get the big talk to. They're going to come up with a plan. They're going to get fired up. And they're going to come back out here and they're going to take back control of the game. Not that we've lost control of the game, but you're thinking they're going to just, now's the time where, okay, we still have that opportunity to come out there. And instead, what happens is, again, they come out, run up the middle. Bowens gets the ball first, no yard gain. Then we have, again, short pass. So Texas keeps up the pressure. We're under pressure. So it's a 5-yard pass. So you're at 3rd and 5, and we get another incompletion. So here's third. That's now in this sequence. And this, so again, I think this is what my point of all this is to say, as we're sort of talking about the flow of the game. You got to give Texas credit, and you got to recognize that the athleticism and the talent on Texas was such that an offense that had been beating them earlier in the game, an offense that's just been cranking it up, and has been had 2 games of its last 3 where it's gone 500 yards over and put big points on the board. Texas for this middle part of this game, the middle of the second quarter and into the third quarter, and again that middle 8 that Kirby likes to talk about. Well, the Texas defense does not let the middle 8 just be dominated by Georgia and have the game get away from them at this point. Now, the game's going to get away from them in the end. And I think that just shows how good Georgia is in this game overall, is that, and it shows some, like I said, it shows that Texas is not just overrated. Texas has the talent. Texas had the capability. They fought in this part of the game, and especially on defense, they fought to hold on to this game and give their team a chance. And they do, because again, they controlled that first part of that middle 8. They kept us from getting the 2-for-1. They kept us from getting any score. So now here we are. It's into the third quarter, and it's still a 14-3 game. So I mean, nothing has really gone great for Texas, but they still have a chance. So when we do throw the interception, which is after, and this is again, so and you see the risk. You got to think about it from the coach's point of view. It's always easy to sit back and say, we just keep running the ball up the middle. We need to go ahead and score. We need to put them away. We're up big. We're up 14-3. We do want to put them away, but you got to mitigate risk reward, right? So, but the offense hasn't been moving. So second drive of the third quarter, second drive of the second half, Bobo calls, or however this works out between Gunner making reads and whatnot, what options he has on the line to change plays, I don't know. But whatever it is, Gunner comes out in the second one. First play on our second drive after we go 3 and out and punt. Texas then goes 7 plays and punts, so it's still 14-3. We're digging our way towards the middle second half of the third quarter here, and we come out on the first play, and it's a 6-yard pass to Branch, and so we come out throwing. And then Gunner throws for the ball over the middle. And so over the middle, down the seam, we've already had a big play to Oscar Delp earlier and similar play to this. So he goes for a pass over the middle, and it's just ill-advised. There's a linebacker sitting in there who does an amazing job, athletically jumps up, gets that ball out of the air, and creates the interception. But, unfortunately now Texas gets the ball on our 24. And these are the risk rewards. You just got to remember that coaches are always thinking about. Not that you can't put the ball in the hands of a guy like Gunner. You got to be able to count on your horses to win the game for you. And Bobo does. I mean, he tried to give our offensive line, our offensive team, the chance to win it the way we like to win it, just start taking their will away by running the ball. And we just weren't quite able to do it. We popped a few runs here and there, but overall, Texas defense stands tall here from the middle of the second quarter into the third quarter. They start getting some pressure on Gunner. They force short passes with the exception of the one 23-yard pass. Otherwise, they force 3 of Gunner's 5 incompletions in the game, and they stuff the run enough that they force us into third down. And not all these were third and long. Yeah, one of them was a 3rd and 11, but you had a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6. So you had a couple of very makeable third downs. Texas defense was stout. Okay, so they stand up and they make it happen. So then they get the interception, and boom, they end up with the touchdown. So now it's 14-10, and now you go to the faithful fourth quarter. But this is where Georgia was still the dominant team, right? We'd been dominating. We faltered a little bit, but we didn't really falter, I guess. I guess all of that analysis and digging into is to spend several minutes to say, I don't think we faltered. I think we tried to win the game we wanted, the way we wanted to. We wanted to take the lead and then just take their will away and run the ball. And we couldn't quite do that. And so then we started adjusting and we started doing a couple passes, and then Gunner makes a mistake. And then that'll happen, right? Look, Gunner's made very few mistakes on the season. Few missed reads here and there. Earlier in the year, there was when the offense didn't feel like it put as much out there as it could. There was a sense that maybe he's not seeing some of the downfield plays. I think more and more we can look back now and say Bobo probably wasn't calling as many downfield plays, and Gunner wasn't as confident in them, because I think we can see how the line has grown and as they've gotten healthy. And as guys like Glover on the line have stepped up, and Gaston's gotten healthy and stepped up, and Ernest Green's back and being healthy, and Freeling is back and being healthy, as the line has come back together, we're seeing the line really do a great job. Okay, they're not giving up much sacks. Gunner's had more time. He's had more downfield throws. When we've seen the line playing better, as I've alluded to in some recent podcasts, you also started noticing that now we don't necessarily have to use our tight ends on every play to protect or open up for the run. Yes, we use the tight ends a lot in the run game, and we use the wide receivers a lot in the run game too. But now you can start calling some plays where the tight ends can get downfield more, and we've seen that. The tight ends have been much more dynamic in the second half of this season, and that's because the line has come together and gelled better, right? So this was our chance to put the game on our offensive line, on our running team, and just take this game over and just grind it out and finish it out. And didn't happen, but we start to adjust, and so we move on to a little bit more passing oriented option, and then Gunner makes a mistake, and that helps get Texas even closer. So they've held on down 14-3 from all through the second quarter into the third quarter, and then they finally get a mistake from us, and that mistake turns into 7 points and turns it into a 1-possession game, a 4-point game. And so again, a little nervy, because you're thinking, for all we've done great here, here's Texas, a talented top 10 team, and now if we don't score the next time we get the ball, now that they've scored, if we don't score on this next drive and we have to punt the ball back to them, they could have an opportunity to actually take the lead in this game. And this is where I want to, this is a long build up to get to this, because this was one of, yes, it was impressive. We end up beating a top 10 team 35-10, right? And it's a beatdown. Everybody says, there's Georgia. There's the old Georgia back. And here's, this team's just been getting better and better as the season goes, and they have. And I think we've seen that. These are didn't know that from, again, I questioned that after Mississippi State. I said, I think we're getting better. I think what I saw is that we're becoming a more complete team. We're improving. Now we know we are, right? Because we're just controlling this game. Even in the part where we're not controlling the game, my point is we're trying to do what we want to do, and Texas is good enough to prevent it. Didn't mean they wrested control of the game. Didn't mean they took over. Just means, hey, we go for the run game, see if we can grind clock and finish it out. Couldn't do it, because you know what? Texas is really good. And Texas isn't just really good. At this point, we're going for strength on strength in the worst way, right? Because the one thing that Texas definitely does really well is they're top 5, top 7 or something in the country in run defense, even better than us. We've been having a nice season run defense. We're giving up 90 to 100 yards a game. They're giving up 70-something yards a game coming in. I mean, just super elite on the run game, on run defense. And so we're just going to try and take it to them. Doesn't work out. So then we shift gears. We start passing the ball, make a mistake. Texas pulls a little closer. That's fine. We made the mistake. We gave that to them. Now it's time to get going. So what is the coaching staff? What does the team do after Texas gets that ball and on the interception, gets in the end zone, makes it the 4-point game? Well, now we're going to go on one of our longer, more sustained drives of the game. Our first touchdown early in the game was 9 plays, 75 yards, 4 minutes, 41 seconds. Second touchdown was 8 plays, 66 yards, 4 minutes and 32 seconds. So this drive, after Texas scores, gets 10 on the board, 10 plays, 73 yards, over 6 minutes. Beautiful drive, right? 7-yard pass, a run, a no gain on a no gain. And so this is where it comes down to the big moment, right? And this is what I'm trying to set up. So we start off with a 7-yard pass, and then we have a run up the middle to Frazier, gets nothing. So now here we are. We go for the pass, and we only end up with a 2-yard pass. So what are we going to end up with? You know what it is. You saw it. You remember it. This is the moment. This is the big moment, right? Where the game just where the fourth quarter just turns and the avalanche starts. Now it's 4th and 1 from the Georgia 36. So we're on our own 36-yard line. And the reason I want to spend so much time building up to this is, I think, yes, it's an impressive performance by the team, but this is where coaching, this is a master class in coaching, right? I mean, and again, people have talked about the cojones, the balls, whatever you want to call it, to have the guts to call 4th down play, an offensive play from your own 36-yard line. But I'm going to say a few things about this. But first and foremost, I just think this is where this is one of the most impressive coaching moments and recognition of the moment I've seen. All of what I've just described, Kirby's been standing there watching it. Bobo's calling the plays. He sees what's going on, right? He know his team still has control of the game. We're still up, but it's slipping away from us. It's going the other way. We tried to take the will away from them, and they stood tall. Gunner's been having a great game. He's going to finish with only 5 incompletions. They force multiple punts here, and 3 of his 5 incompletions are in those drives that are unsuccessful, the 3-4 drives I just described. So here we are back again now. Texas has now scored because of a mistake we've made, and now they're within 4 points. And if they get the ball again and get another touchdown, they could actually take the lead. So I don't think I'm not feeling at this moment in the game, and I don't know how everybody else did, but at this moment in the game, I'm not feeling like the Texas win is imminent here. Okay, I'm not feeling like, oh my gosh, we're going to utterly collapse. I still feel like we're in control, but I mean, I definitely see that it's going to get harder on us if we have to punt here again. The momentum is just building to Texas. I think they've got momentum now, but I don't think they've ripped it all away from us. I don't think it's all on their side yet. And I just think Kirby, this is the masterclass moment of recognizing the team has done what he's asked them to do, right? They practice hard. They're super conditioned. We've seen it time and time again that they own the fourth quarter. They believe in owning the fourth quarter. We're in the third quarter here. We're not to the fourth quarter yet, right? So this is 5 minutes or so to go in the third quarter. But the point is, and so you feel good. Even I guess what I'm trying to say is, even if Texas gets the ball and they get a field goal, get within 1, or take the lead, they would be up then 17-14. Now that'd feel deflating that, for all that we could have dominated, we would have lost that opportunity. But we've seen our team already come back in this same situation, right? So I still feel really comfortable about, look, we've played well. I feel worse in games where we've never quite gotten it going and we're hanging on, like where Texas is in this game. They're hanging on. They've never gotten it going and they're hanging on. And now they're closer, but honestly, the only reason they got that much closer is because we gave them the ball deep in our own territory so they could score. So at this point, Texas, they feel better about where they are, and they feel buoyed, I think, by the chance that they have a chance to be in this game. But in reality, they've, other than play great defense and hang on, they haven't actually taken control of the game. Georgia's had control of the game. So even if we lose control of the game, I feel like we get to the fourth quarter, we're going to take it back and we're going to win. But I don't want to go there. Who wants to go there, right? I mean, that's like saying, well, I had $1 million and go to the Sublime song, right? Santeria. I had $1 million. I spent it all. I don't want to spend it all here. I want to stay in the lead, right? I want to keep a little savings in the bank and then build it back up again. And Kirby does too. And Kirby senses this moment, and I think he just realizes this is the chance where the coach can affect the game. Sure, you can do what a coach might normally do and say, look, we're not taking fourth down from our own 36 and even lose momentum more. Basically, if this fails, we give Texas the ball, not just, and they got a great field goal kicker, so they're not far out of field goal range if we give them the ball here. And they could be within one, or they only have to drive 30 something yards to take the lead. And we're not going to take that chance. But Kirby has got this team conditioned. He's got them believing. They've been playing with the fire, passion, energy. This is his chance to step up and say, I believe in you guys. And we're not gonna panic. In fact, let's take one more swing here to just rip this game away, to just take the will from the other team. And it's a coaching choice. It's not just a team choice, right? It's the chance to say, get out there and we're going to make this play. So they had a play in their back pocket they felt good about. I love the play. I love the misdirection. It reminds me a lot of the play that Alabama clinched the game and to run out the clock against us earlier in the season, right? Misdirection, there's a handoff flow, everything going this way, but then Bowens is breaking out that way. Gunner's breaking out that way too. It's a rollout too, which I love that. I've been calling for this, and I saw this multiple times in this game, let me just say. I kept thinking, look, we got Gunner who's got the capability to run. We got these great tight ends. Why is Bobo not using, this would be my Bobo criticism from earlier in the year, why is Bobo not using more plays where you have a run-pass option, not just at the line, but where Gunner rolls out and he's got a tight end dragging out in front of him, and then the defense has to make that choice to say, I'm going to pick up the tight end or I'm going to go for the quarterback. Yeah, sometimes they get out there with enough people and they get both, but most of the time they have to make that choice. This game featured multiple plays like that. The first touchdown of the game, same thing. Gunner rolls out a little bit, guys are coming in on him, but Delp is able to get out and get behind the defense and get the touchdown because that's, I'm just making sure it was that. Oh, no, it was Noah Thomas. I'm sorry. Noah Thomas was out. But you had, I think, Delp or either the running back or the tight end was out in the flat. So you had three layers. You had Gunner rolling out, and he has the ability to run. The defense is closing on that. Then you have a short outlet like either the tight end or the running back sort of in the flat just in front of him, and they got that covered. But you know what they didn't have covered? They didn't have Noah Thomas covered out in the back. So although there was a guy there, and but that's why you like having a jump ball guy like Noah Thomas. But you'll see it multiple times. You go back, you look at these tight ends, a lot of the second touchdown to Noah Thomas is just a straight play to the corner, just a timing, you get out there, I'm going to put the ball right over the pylon, grab it. All the other touchdowns, though, feature some kind of run-pass option where the defense had to make a choice, and when they made that choice, they left something open. The last touchdown of the game where Gunner runs in, gets so fired up and excited, he rolls out. In fact, one of the things I love about this play, Josh Brock called this out on the radio broadcast, if you heard it. One of the things I love about this play, there was not a wide receiver on the field. It's just tight ends and running backs. So he rolls out. So there's a lot of play going back to the right. Gunner rolls the opposite of that to the left. Delp goes out there with him. Delp or Lucky, actually, I don't remember which, but they go out there with him. The coverage jumps all over the tight end. And so Gunner sees that. Again, he's got that option. The pass isn't there, so he keeps the ball. He tucks it in. He starts to look for his lane. He has to weave through a person or two. Boom, he's in the end zone. Just really great. I think Bobo has done a masterful job of, early in the season, we had to use a lot of screen passes and a lot of Gunner run, okay, just to keep the offense going. And because the line was coming together and had a lot of injuries and wasn't quite there yet. Now that the line has come together and the tight ends can get off of it a little bit more, now we can build on that. You've shown this tendency. You've shown that that's what you want to do. You want to run these safe plays. And now he's running all these plays that are coming off that same look, just the same thing every time, where Gunner can roll right, roll left, and you got layers of people. You got Zachariah Branch, or running back in the flat. You got a short pass out, and then you got a third deeper option. And that's just a lot for the defense to have. It's really almost no defense is going to be able to cover all that, right? If you got a quarterback that's got a threat with his legs, quarterback's out and he's going to run. That's a threat. Somebody's got to pick that up. You got to have a defensive plan to stop that and cover that. You got a dangerous player like Frazier or Bowens who've shown they can be dangerous with the ball out in the flat, just beyond them. Or Zachariah Branch comes across on a motion and there he is out there, and you know how dangerous he is if he gets the ball in that position. So again, now the defense has to be putting somebody on the quarterback and on Zachariah Branch, okay? And so that's a lot to cover. And then there's maybe another layer where a wide receiver started at the line and he flexes out 7-8 yards downfield. So Branch is right at the line. You got another guy who's just downfield. That's another layer to cover, all on the same side. And then you have one more deep layer wherever that guy comes from. Sometimes he comes all the way from the other side, started way on the other side of the formation, runs this long route, and he ends up in front of the rollout to the other side. Either way, you have that deep layered pass. So now you got 4 things on that one side of the field to cover. And the defense, you're making all those players. And most of the time, defensive players are forced to make a choice between coming in, going out, picking up the runner and picking up the wide receiver, letting him go to the safety, or, and so in other words, there's these choices, right? I'll take this, you take that. And when you give the team on one side of the field 4 choices like that, wait, I got to pick up the quarterback, I got to pick up Zachariah Branch, I got to pick up the tight end at the middle distance, or I got to pick up the other wide receiver way down the field, down 20 yards downfield. That's a lot to do, and it's really been working, and it's played off of what we did all season earlier in the game, earlier in the season, where there was this sense we all complained that there was a lack of dynamicism. We're just throwing the ball out to the flat all the time, right? Well, that's really paying off now. So it's not even just that we've been setting stuff up from early in a game sometimes to make stuff happen. We've been setting stuff up for the whole season. So anyway, getting back to where we are on the flow of the game, you get back to this moment, and I was texting and talking to people during the game, and I said, this is one of the most impressive games I've seen Georgia have in several years, probably going back to the 2022 season now, maybe 1 or 2 of the games in the 2023 season. Because yes, the team looks prepared. Yes, the team looks well coached. They've been playing with fire and passion and energy all season, and they've obviously brought that again. All of the elements are there, but here's where it just feels like, and I've been one to criticize a little bit, that maybe the coaches needed to rethink their approach and be ready for some different stuff, because playing the Georgia way over and over again is a little predictable. And maybe the Texas defense had a little bit of a leg up in the sense when we started trying to pound that everybody knows, hey, Georgia's got a lead. Now they're just going to try and do one of those 12-play, 12-run drives. And so they put everything into stopping that run and making it happen. Maybe that tendency was still there, so much so that that's how Texas is able to get a little advantage there, because they actually have the athletes to stop Georgia. That a lot of teams just can't, that's sort of the style that we play with, is that, look, a lot of times we're not doing anything super fancy or tricky. We're actually doing what we always do. It's just that we're going to execute and do it so well with such good athletes that you just can't stop it. That's the theory, right? Well, Texas, when you play a team like Texas, when you play a team like Alabama, they have the athletes to match. And so you're going to have to break some tendencies. Coaching staff knew that coming into this game, I think, and they did a great job. They were prepared. And so there's a lot of discussion out there about Kirby said we're going to use the onside kick. They've been practicing it for over a year, and nobody, the players like, nah, I don't know if he's really going to do it. So we're going to get to that in a second. But first thing he does is he sees this moment, and he I think he recognizes this is a chance to give the team a spark and to believe in the team if he's wrong. If it doesn't work and we don't get the 4th down, then you're counting on the team that you've built in the 4th quarter that's closed out the 4th quarter. Sometimes it was the 3rd quarter, sometimes it was the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th quarter this season, right? Where it fell behind and then closed out all those games from there. But he's counting on this team that has done it time and time again, own the 4th quarter against Ole Miss, right? Back and forth game, you're down by 9, then you go out and you rip off 17 unanswered or whatever it was in the 4th quarter against Ole Miss, and you own the 4th quarter. So he's counting on that when he makes this. He's counting on his team when he makes this fourth down call, because this could go the wrong way. But he also knows this is a chance to just completely take back the game, get back control, put yourself back in a position where an easy break. Because the whole time I'm thinking, I feel like, and I know you probably felt that way too, if we can just get one more score, get a touchdown, get back up by 11 points, right? We're up 4. If we get a touchdown, we're back up by 11. 3 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. You got the rest of the third quarter, all the fourth quarter. I feel like we can hold them off, right, with a 2-score lead. So I'm sure Kirby's feeling that way, and the importance of that, I think, comes to pass here. And so I love that he knew and felt the moment. It's not weird. It's not risky. He believes in his team if it goes bad. He's got the whole fourth quarter to recover from it. He's got the crowd. He's got everything he needs at home. And he says, we're going to be aggressive. And he used that term. And he said it before. This is where we're going to be aggressive and we're going to take it to him. So they call the fourth down play, the pass to Bowens. It's the run option play. I got off on talking about the run option, but I love the design of the play too, because it's got multiple chances to work. It's not just a one, drop back and there's the route, and if you hit the pass, because when you have that kind of a play, so many things go wrong. It comes down to just this one thing, right? Where you throw the ball, maybe it's just off the guy's fingertips, or he gets it but he drops it, or Gunner's a little off and he misses the pass, and boom, they get the ball. Well, in this case, Gunner rolls out. You got a lot of flow and misdirection. Gunner rolls out, and now he's got a run pass option, right? And he's got a running back in front of him, guy Chauncey Bowens, who if he gets the ball anywhere near within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage when he's already moving, not the line of scrimmage, the line to gain for the first down. You feel like just his momentum will get him over. Gunner's got a lane. Maybe he can run if the pass isn't there, if it's covered. Maybe he can run. You got a couple options, so you're not just dead if they guessed right on this play. You've got a chance to do something here, and it works great. There's a lot of misdirection. They get the numbers they need on the other side. Gunner rolls out. I didn't really study it to see if he could have run or not, but he sees Bowens there. He makes a quick, safe pass. Bowens gets the ball. 10-yard gain. Boom. You go from 4th and 1, 10-yard gain. Once that happened, and again, remember, we're already, this play's already, out to 36. So now you're out to midfield. So now you feel like now we've got that momentum back. And it more or less works. Yes, we're going to have another first down on this play. The downside is right after that, we have another, we give the ball back to Bowens. Hope he's hot. Nope. Loses a yard. Texas defense stands tall. And you think, okay, come on. So then we're going for a pass to see if we can get something going. Again, we're not just going to hold on the run. So what happens? We get one of the few sacks on the year, right? We've been great about avoiding sacks on the year. In this game, boom. So Gunner gets sacked. And so now you got a loss. And so, again, with a strong pass rush and 3rd and 13 to go for, Gunner makes the pass. It's an 8-yard pass. So now we're back to, your 4th and 5. Now you're down to another 4th down. And again, you're still just at midfield. You're still fighting. Texas is holding this really tight, okay? We're still only at the 49-yard line. We still haven't even quite gotten off our own side of the field here. And so then, again, they line up and go for it. And another thing I'm going to say about building on things in the test, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of waste of time on some of those plays where I've seen Kirby throw the offense out there when it's 4th and less than 5. And obviously they were planning to just try to draw the other team off, right? They were never actually going to snap the ball. And we've seen that a bunch. And it's probably smart. And it's probably a smart thing to always do. So maybe I give Kirby credit on that, where you say, look, there's no harm, no foul. Most of the time the clock is stopped anyway. You go out there and you fake like you're going to do it, and you either take the 5-yard penalty and you get a little more room when you have a great punter, or you call the timeout and you go ahead and you punt. But you give it a try, because hey, if they twitch and they move, you get a freebie. So, but most of the time I feel like that's that happens maybe a few percent. 80% of the time you're just kind of wasting time. You're going to end up punting. Well, Kirby's done that so much. The first 4th down here when the team goes out on offense, and it's 4th and 1. That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? I think that's part of it is, again, you've set this up. Like, he's done it so much, I think to a certain degree, the defense is out there and they're ready for it, but the coaches have to think, he's not really going to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 36. And then we snap the ball. It's like, oh wait, we are. Same thing. Get to it again. Second. Get to it again. A few plays later, now we're in 4th and 5. Same thing. And so what happens? Well, the guy's actually twitched. The guy clearly comes across. Now you got the offsides. Gunner sees it. He goes for the free play. Again, I mentioned earlier, it was a blown pass interference call, or they threw the flag and they picked it up. I don't know why. The guy clearly mugged receiver. So we got the 5 yard, which put us, first down, right at the, what do you call it? We end up right at the Texas 44. So, but honestly, we should have been, down at like the 25 or whatever, wherever the 15-yard, whatever. Well, okay, no, it's a 15-yard. It's not spot of the foul. NFL spot of the foul. So anyway, if it had been the penalty, since we're right at midfield, it'd been at the 35-yard line. So anyway, that's what it should have been. But we get the ball. Doesn't matter. Just gives us more time to bleed clock and work our way down the field. So now after the 5-yard penalty, you get 7-yard run, 7-yard pass, and then the beautiful 30-yard pass to London Humphreys, and now you got the 21-10 lead. And again, I'm thinking that's enough. I'm thinking, okay, we got it. Now we're back. We've gotten the momentum back. We got back on the score. Texas really hasn't moved the ball on their own. 11 points. You're down to this. This happens right at the start of the 4th quarter. So now you've taken the lead in the 4th quarter, and you're thinking, look, that's 14 minutes to go. You're up 11. Texas hasn't moved the ball. Maybe they go on some sort of furious comeback, but for the most part, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Plus, I'm thinking we're going to have another chance to try to grind out the clock and at least get a field goal and score it. Again, Kirby just not wanting to even let a moment slip here. I mean, just the aggressiveness of this coming. This is, again, coming back now with the onside kick. Now, this one's even bigger, right? Because you could argue the first one was necessary, the 4th down calls, okay? Because your offense is stalled. Texas defense is gaining momentum. Texas offense still hasn't done anything, but now because of the turnover, they're within 4 points. They're within a score. So there's a lot to be said for the smart of going for it. And not to mention, by the way, just analytics and metrics always tell us that 4th and 1, no matter where you are on the field, you got about a 65 to 85% chance of picking up that play. I mean, think about it. Most plays you run gain a yard. I mean, even just the typical run up the middle that we don't like on first down, we're like, dang, they gain a yard, maybe 2. So when you truly have 4th and 1, I mean, the percentages are in your favor. These guys are big enough and strong enough, they ought to be able to fall forward for a yard. Now, obviously, we see that doesn't happen a lot of times. Something about, for some reason, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 seems to be a lot like in baseball, how hard it is why we have to have a special guy called the closer to come in and pitch that, because there's something mental about getting those last 3 outs of a baseball game. In the 6th inning, you'll have a mid-level pitcher go out there as a reliever, just kind of a mid-level guy, and he'll go out there and get 1, 2, 3, boom, right? But for some reason, the same situation at the end of the game, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to get those last 3 outs. Well, that seems to be the case for some reason when games are on the line on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Seems like you could get a yard almost anytime you want it, unless you absolutely have to have it. But nonetheless, so the onside kick. And so they practice this thing. They know it could work. Texas isn't prepared for it. And again, at this point, not only is the team outplaying Texas, but the Texas coaches. And I mean, the camera work by the ABC ESPN people was fabulous on this. They showed the special teams coordinator guy who already had just been drilling one of his guys earlier in this because Texas had they have this dangerous kick returner, Niblett, who's really busted. And again, he's one of the reasons they were able to save the Mississippi State game on the road, because they're still down late in the 4th quarter. Mississippi State has to punt, and the punts return for a touchdown. And look, this is one of the reasons where I'm sure, I mean, I didn't talk to Brett Thorson, but I'm sure, and the announcers made this point, everybody talked about it. One of the reasons Brett, Thorson was having such a tough time punting the ball compared to his normal thing is he's trying to punt the ball way up in the air, get a lot of hang time, and make sure that there's just no chance that this guy's going to break a return. In doing that, however, he was, only punting the ball 30-something yards instead of 50 like we're used to. And so I think that I don't know. In the end, it didn't hurt us that much, but he did get a ball on a kickoff where he got out to midfield or so, if you might remember, but they had a holding penalty, and it took him all the way back to inside their 10-yard line or so, and he was just ripping. So you see the special teams coordinator earlier just ripping his team, being all upset, and now after the onside kick, they show him, and he just like has this look of incredulity on his face, right? And then there's a camera shot of Sark, and Sark's kind of like, I don't remember if he had the headset on or he takes it off, but I mean, he just puts his head down, he rubs his head like this, and he's just like, and he knows it. You can just see the moment. You can tell that he knows that in one move that Kirby Smart just took away any chance he had to win the game. That they had built, that they'd just been hanging on by a thread, and they might still have a chance. They were with, even after Georgia scores, they're only down 2 scores, right? They got the whole fourth quarter to go if they can just mount something. And here's their defense forcing fourth down again. So here's the defense playing tough. So you think the defense is going to give them a chance if they can just get the offense going. And that's what Kirby's understanding too, right? He sees a defense that hasn't given up and that is a really stout defense, and it's making it hard on our offense. Our offense is mostly won on the day, but their defense has a chance still, even though we've gone up 11, to give them a chance to maybe tie this thing up by the end and make something of this game. Kirby doesn't want to see that happen, so he steals the possession. So we should have been able to do this easier in the game, right? We had the 2-for-1 opportunity where all we had to do is drive with the ball to end the first half and come out in the second half, and we could have had the 2-for-1. This is already done. Didn't happen. Kirby gives the team another chance. Says, let's do it again. Let's try again. Goes for the onside kick. Team's already fired up. They've converted 2 fourth downs. They've gotten the touchdown. They're back up by 11. Now they get the onside kick. And then, again, offense now executes another touchdown, right? Important to realize that neither time did we end up settling for field goals on these things. In fact, not at all during the game. No field goals in this game. Super efficient. We're going to score on 5 of 11 drives in this game. We're going to score, 5 of 11 drives. And the 11th one, we were just trying to run out the clock. Unfortunately, we had a punt. This could have been the 3rd game in a row that we ended in victory formation. We talked about how much coaches love that. This could have been the 3rd game in a row where we close it out on victory formation and take a knee. We end up having a punt with like 27 seconds left on the game. So, but that point is that last drive, that 11th drive, was not meant to score. It was just meant to burn the clock, and we almost did. We almost took the knee and did what we wanted to. So on 4 of 10 we scored on 5 of 10 drives where we're trying to drive for points. So even though we had that big chunk in the middle where we sort of didn't get it going there a little bit, all we just talked about, still really efficient effort by the offense. And not only do we score on 5 of 11 drives, but a lot like what Ole Miss did to us as far as putting pressure on the other team, all 5 drives are touchdowns here. We settled for no field goals. So, which was a big difference in the previous games against Texas. One of the reasons the SEC championship game ends up in overtime. Georgia multiple times forged a lead in the second half, but we only got 1 touchdown and we settled for several field goals. So we only end up 16-13. Texas gets the ball the last time, gets a field goal, ties it up 16-all. Now we go to overtime. Now, we won in the overtime, but still don't want to do that. Kirby has seen these games go. He's learned, I think, he saw this last year. We had back-to-back overtime games with Texas and Georgia Tech. And early in this season, that was kind of one of the complaints, that people, media, fans, everybody's saying, like, Georgia can't separate from these teams anymore, having to fight tooth and nail, falling behind even, and then having to take it back at the end. Well, here we are. Kirby just says, this game, the way we're playing, what we've done, I'm going to make a choice to try and avoid letting this be any tension at all at the end of the game. Let's just take back another drive here. We get the play works. It's beautiful. It's executed perfectly. The coaching staff and Sark say they knew Kirby would pull something like this. Of course, he pulled the fake punt in the SEC championship last year. So another great move at that time, right? Now we needed that one just to get back out on there and make sure we could actually take a lead and maybe win that game. This one, we've already got the 11-point lead. And so this is just dropping the hammer. And so the aggressiveness of dropping the hammer. And, one of the things I want to say about this too is, like, in this moment, so I was looking at ESPN. ESPN, if you follow ESPN during the game, and I like doing this, they have the the little predictor, the game flow predictor. So if you go on what they call the Gamecast version of the thing, and I forget, let's see what they call it. I think it's over here. Yeah, the win probability meter. So there's a little meter and it graphs, and you can move the thing along and you see where they are. So I was tracking this during the game, the win probability meter. Okay, at the moment where Georgia started basically at 60%. Before the kickoff, the win probability meter the computer figured Georgia's 60% chance to win this game. So by the time we are up still 14-10, and we've got the ball, and we get to the fourth down, the win probability meter for Georgia at that point in the game is 79.2%. So again, still have, even with just the 4-point lead and having just given up the interception and the touchdown, you still got a nearly 80% chance to win the game, because there's 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, under 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, and you have a 4-point lead and you're at home and you're on paper, you're the better team anyway. So the win probability meter says you got 80% chance, almost 79.2% chance to win the game at this call. But as soon as we pick up the fourth down and then go up 21-10, now it jumps to 91.6%. So again, just that's what Kirby does right there, right? And that's why so many coaches punt. Hey, you had an 80% chance to win if you just punt the ball, okay? But because the win probability accounts for the fact it's fourth down. So it understands, hey, you're in a fourth down situation. I didn't actually see it just before that. It was probably higher before. It's probably 80-something%. It probably went down because it goes up and down with every play. So when we got to fourth down, it probably went down because it accounted for the fact it's fourth down. You're gonna punt maybe. So instead, we don't punt. Go score the touchdown. Win probability jumps from 79% up to 80, 92%. So now you almost got the game in hand. One key choice, right? But it's almost 92%. Still got 14 minutes of time to play on the clock, right? 14 minutes of game time. And that Texas defense has been playing tough. So what does Kirby do? Let's not give the Texas defense a chance to get another takeaway or bring momentum back to the game. Onside kick. So after we go for the onside kick and we recover it, you jump up from 92% to 96%. Okay? So again, Kirby's making choices right here, wins the game. Then when Stockton gets in the end zone and goes up to 28 well, actually, let's see, did Stockton, I don't think no, when Stockton, okay, so here's how decisive it is. I'm sorry, I made a note for myself and then I lost track of what it said. Stockton, we're going to get to a point where Stockton's going to run for a 10-yard gain to get inside on this drive after the onside kick. So we get the ball at the 47. We drive down. When Stockton picks up a first down and gets inside their 10-yard line or inside the 20, whichever it was, he gains 10 yards. The win probability goes to 99.6. So we haven't, my point was going to say, not even scoring the next touchdown, not even getting up to the 28 yet, just getting down inside their 20 after the onside kick. So the onside kick, you go from 92% to 96%, then you jump from 96% to 99.6% just by getting down inside their 20. Okay. And then once you put the touchdown on the board, it goes to 99.7%. It doesn't change that much. So now but again, here's the series of things. You got an 80% chance, the win probability, and most people just punt and live with that and try to play for the 80%, right? But Kirby goes for the fourth downs. We get the score. Now you jump up to 92%. 92% is pretty stout. Got 14 minutes to play. You got 92% chance to win. No, let's just take it even harder. Let's just take it all back, right? So you do the onside kick, and you get a couple first downs, and now you're at 90. You go from 90, you go to 96%, down to 97%. Now, look, these things are not determinative. There's plenty of teams that had a 99 or 96% chance to win because they had the lead and then fumbled the ball, and the other team scored and won by a point, right? So, I mean, these can be wild swings where one team has 90-something%, and then 2 minutes later, the other team's 100% and the game's over. So this is just predicting. It's just based on the flow of, it's got data from all the football games that have ever happened and what normally happens in these situations, and then it accounts for your teams and what's going on, and it just takes all that data and compiles it and says, hey, your percentage chance here. But this is why I'm just trying to get into thinking, this is why coaches do what they do. Normally a coach punts 4th and 1, even if it's inches. You say, oh, you can just lean forward and get that, just do it. Yeah, the risk is you're already got an 80% chance to win. If you go for that play and you blow it, your win percentage chance probably drops to 70 or 60% because you just gave the other team the ball in scoring position almost, right? That's why coaches don't do that. But Kirby believes in his team to cover this, and they give it a try. And he knows if it's successful, he believes in the team to go down and score. And so the risk reward is going to be we're going to take control of this game right here. We're going to take back control of this game. Yes, we still have control on paper, but you can feel it sliding, right? And we had been as high before that. I guess I meant to say we had been higher. We'd been up in the 80, 89, 90% range at earlier points in the game as far as our chance to win the game, up 14-3. So we're losing ground. We've gone from maybe as much as 90% chance to win the game down to 80%, 79% chance. So we're losing ground. And Kirby says we're not going to lose any more ground. And it's just a masterful moment. It's just when you see it all come together like this, like not only is the team playing with fire, passion, energy, not only are they executing at a high level, playing against a top team, not only is the crowd and the university who's done everything to make the atmosphere awesome all come together with the night game and all that and the light show and everything. Now you have your coach ready, prepared, and stepped up. And look, throughout the game, this is where you got to be thankful. Texas had an extra week to prepare for this game. They looked good on their first drive, but they end up settling for a field goal. Really, right at that moment, I felt really confident. I mean, I already told you I thought we'd win by 2 scores coming into this game. But when they settled for that field goal, I felt like, okay, they used their best stuff. They got their first drive in. They didn't even get the touchdown. When we moved down the field and we get the touchdown, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is going to be the game I was expecting it to be. But I was surprised that, they had so many penalties, 9 penalties for 58 yards. We had 1 penalty in the whole game. We already talked about that. That's when Zion Branch got caught with the pass interference holding after the turnover, after the interception. It got to be 3rd and long, and Arch threw an errant pass to the end zone. Sadly, I think even if Branch had not touched the guy, it would not have been it was a legitimate penalty. So they got basically they got 1st and goal out of that, and then they scored the touchdown. That was our only penalty in the game. We possessed the ball for 35 minutes. So again, we continue to do what we like to do, which is possess the ball. We had a lot of trouble getting through their very stout run defense and running the ball like we want to and like we're used to. And we didn't have a massive amount of rushing in this game. We've been running for 200 yards a game. We end up running for 128 yards, 3.7 yard average. That's not awesome. But remember, that's 50 more than they're averaging giving up. That's averaging giving up. They've had games better than that, right? And the run differential in this game that I've talked about a lot shows a real sense of game control and power. 23 yards. Now, yes, Arch Manning took 3 sacks, so he ends up with a minus 17, and sack totals come off rushing. So, but put the 17 back. Give Arch, say Arch was at 0, and so it still means they ran for 40 yards in the game. Okay, the 23 is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, but that does include the sack yardage coming off. But even if you give him back the sack yardage, it's still. I don't know. Because Arch might have had a couple positive. I don't know. It might not be that. Look, it's between 40 and 50. Now that I think about it, maybe Arch ran for 10 yards and then lost X on sack yards. So when you see his total was minus 17 for the game, but that doesn't mean that was all just sacks. He might have actually been sacked for minus 40 yards. I have to go back and look at that. But he gained positive on a couple other runs. So nonetheless, it doesn't really change the point. Say they rush for 40, 50, 60 yards instead of 23. Whatever it is, it's a huge disparity. We ran for 128 yards. We had a couple sacks in there. They were short distance sacks, but we ran for 128 yards. They ran for 23. Even if you take back the sack yardage, it's not that great. Everything was there. The pieces were there. Kirby just needed to take that extra step. And by doing that, I think we win the game even if he doesn't do what he did. I really do. I think that everything else was there. But I think he just took it, not only were the players beating Texas, but he took it to another level. The coaches just beat Texas. And Bobo does a great job. Again, the point I was making about the field goals, you got to bear in mind, look, we scored 4 of our touchdowns were inside the red zone. So again, yes, there were some frustrating moments. You wondered about some of those run plays, but Bobo had plays cooked up that when we got near the end zone, we scored touchdowns. We didn't settle for any field goals today. And so that was an impressive performance. And Kirby's performance here, and I think the moment was pivotal. You should go back and watch it or look for the replay if you see it after the onside kick. You see that special teams coordinator, and he's just like, and I was making, if you're not watching it on video, I was making the bewildered face expression. And then you see Sark, and he just puts his head down, rubs his head, and he just knows. He knows right there. He knows what the numbers, the stats, and everything said. That's it. That was the ball game. They're not coming back from that. They're already down 11. Georgia's got the ball again. Even if we didn't score, we're just going to bleed clock. And that's what I was saying. The predicting model showed that when we got to when we just ran a certain amount of time and distance off the clock, we'd already jumped up to 99.6% without even scoring that touchdown to go up 28. And then of course 35. Just by then you're not even moving the needle. You won't get to 100% until the whistle's finally over. So. Just an amazing moment and a great performance and a great coaching performance. Being in that moment, being aggressive, trusting your team. And I just think that it's also the kind of moment where this team, they've had all the moments of fighting back from being down, and you have to chop the head off the snake, as Josh Pate has said many times, and that people haven't, that you can't kill us, as Kirby said, right? Well, this time it's not just you can't kill us, but we're just gonna rip your heart out on this one. And that's what they did. Texas still might have had but even when we scored and to go back up 21-10, still had all the fourth quarter. They still might have been, look, we're playing great defense. Let's get out there, look for a turnover. And it could happen, right? What if we throw another interception? What if we have a fumble and then they get the ball in short distance and now all of a sudden they get back to a 4-point game and there's still 10 minutes to go. And then we've got to have the burden of trying to drive and not make a mistake and try to hold on to the lead, right? Nope. We're not even going to do that. We're going to take the ball again. We're going to score again. We're going to end this thing right here. Just take their will away. And we could have done it earlier. We didn't. Kirby said, I'm going to give the team another chance. And the team responded. And I think you're just going to see this team just be stronger after this even. Because there wasn't that much adversity. But when a team when the coach believes in you like that, and then it all comes together and you execute, and then you just beat up a good team like they did and get the result they did, I think this team's on fire now. And I think everybody sees it. You see it around the country. Like people are, okay, here they are. This is the Georgia team we thought could happen. And this is the answer we've been asking all season, right? This is the culmination of all season we've been saying. Do we think that this is a championship possible team? We know it didn't look like other teams, and it wasn't formed fully coming out to start the season. But now you look at the defense, we've had 3 sacks in each. It was 6 sacks in the last 2 games after having like 8 through the first 8 games. Okay. Defense, you held Texas to 10 points. Mississippi State got 21, but one of those was a garbage touchdown at the end of the game. I mean, we were up 38-7 in the third quarter against Mississippi State. So the final 2 touchdowns of that game were kind of garbage, really. Okay. So here you held, them to 10 points. And again, we gave them 7 of the 10. So the defense really held this to a 3-point game. So without the offense turning the ball over deep in its own territory. So the defense is getting pressure, putting guys under pressure, continuing to stop the run, continuing to dictate the flow of the game, looking more stout. We're seeing more and more guys making plays and stepping up. And the offensive line is coming together. Offense has really been there for a lot of the season, and if not dynamic, but grinding it out. Now it looks like it can be dynamic or grind it out. Even against tough defenses, they're finding a way to get it done. Texas played some great defense, and yet we didn't. I said coming into the game, I thought we would get 450 yards and put up 30 to 35 points. Well, we did put up the 35 points. We only had 457 yards, or 357 yards. But I will make the point that, again, we had 2 short possessions in the second half. If we had to drive like we did against Ole Miss, where we had 70 60, 70, and 80-yard drives repeatedly, then we might have had the ball long enough. I mean, we had the ball 35 minutes. We had 20 first downs. We scored 5 touchdowns in the game. We just, a couple of those drives in the second half were short, especially after the onside kick. So we didn't really have to go very far with the ball. And so I think at least I added up two of those drives. If we started back on our own 25 and still drove and got the touchdown, we would have had about 60, 65 more yards, somewhere in there. So I think we would have, if we had to start further back on those other drives, but we still continued on scoring. That's a big if. You don't know if you start further back, do you actually get the momentum and drive? But all things being equal, if those drives had been normal length drives, we probably would have ended up at about 420 is what I guess I was going to say, 420 yardage. At one point in the game, we were outgaining them. I talk about yardage differential. We were outgaining them by over 150 yards. We ended up only outgaining them about 80-something yards, which, again, against a top 10 team, you can live with that. You might expect to, next week against Charlotte, probably outgain them by 300 yards. And so you see that stat jump up. Against top 10 teams, you usually don't. That's why I was so impressed against Ole Miss. We were over 160-yard differential against Ole Miss. Didn't feel that way as you're watching the game a little bit, but we were really controlling that game offensively more than we might have realized until you got to the end of the game. So in this game, at the point in which we had the game under control, there was a point at which we were at 361 yards. And before they get the ball, their last possession, they drive and then they give the ball up on downs. They obviously didn't score. Even if they had, it would have been 35-17, still a beatdown. But they didn't. They go down, but they do get down into scoring territory and they go for it on fourth down because obviously they need the touchdown. They don't get it. They give the ball over on downs. But that last drive they gave them a chance to get from just right at 210 yards up to 275. So, and then we end up, eventually taking, we put a bunch of backups in and we tried a bunch of running plays. Some of those guys lost some yardage. So we gave up a few yards. So we went backwards from 361 to finalize at 357, and they went from being down at like 201, 205 or something like that up to 274. So instead of having over 100-yard differential, just in that last sequence, our last drive, their last drive, it got shrunk in half. So we went from being a 150-yard differential down to like 80. 83 or something like that. So still very excellent game control. Again, 20 first downs. They were only 2 of 11 on third down conversion. We were only 4 of 11. Were they 2 of 11? I'll tell you. So we were only 4 of 11. I know that. And they were 2 of 12. We were 4 of 11. So for the season now, we're holding teams under 40% on third down. We continue to be over 45%. So these game control things I'm looking at, we only had the one penalty in the game. So just, we had a turnover, they had a turnover. So we didn't really gain or lose much in the turnover battle. Just kind of picking through some of the flow of the game stuff here. It's just a super impressive performance. And I think that whole sequence of breaking it down where Kirby makes those choices, you knew it was awesome when you saw it, but I was just trying to give some context to it about how much, statistically speaking, quantifiably a little bit in terms of predicted win or win prediction ability, Kirby just takes the game away, fires up his team, closes it out, and you go from being a game that you're probably going to hang on and win no matter what, but maybe you get down to a late touchdown, one of those games. It could have easily devolved into one of those games where you play a little bit of prevent defense, bend but don't break. They get a little hot, they take advantage of soft coverage. They move down the field. They get a touchdown. You were up by 11, so they get a touchdown. They know they're going to need the 2-point conversions. They go there for a 2-point conversion. If they get it or don't get it, now you've got to be like, a field goal can tie us up, or they got to get another touchdown to try to win the game. And maybe they go for the onside kick if it's only a few minutes left, or you get down to 3 and you're trying to just do one of those offenses where you at least get the first down. None of that in this game, right? Not what we're worried about. The last few minutes of the game were just like celebratory. Everybody's just hanging out. You barely paid attention to what I just described, how they gained some yards and ended up giving up the ball on downs, and how, we lost yardage or not, or who was in the game. Puglisi gets in the game. Roderick Robinson gets in the game. I don't think he's played in the game all year. He got a carry or two in there, lost a couple of yards. Wasn't a great season debut, but that's the way it worked out. So listen, a few other headlines. We'll try to close this out. We're going really long, but hey, it's a great game, a lot to talk about. Gunnar should be a Heisman finalist. I mean, nobody means more to a team that's doing better than Gunnar. I think he deserves to be right up there. And Gunnar hasn't created his own moments. I'm still a little frosty about, how everybody got all like, oh, you have to have that Heisman moment. And Mendoza from Indiana, has the Heisman moment. He leads them on that great drive. He throws an interception that allows Penn State to score and take the lead and put them down late in the game. So then he digs himself back out of his own hole by masterfully completing a drive with no timeouts and, needing to score the touchdown to win the game. I give him credit there, but I mean, I don't know that you really you go on the road against a team that's lost 6 games or lost 5 in a row. You're going to beat them. They're going to lose 6 in a row. They fired their coach. They were a talented team to start the season, but they're a bad team as far as a team. They're a losing team. You go on the road and you're repeatedly down against this team, and then you give them a turnover, which allows them to potentially seal the game and win it from you, and then you come back and wrest it back at the end. You're like, wow, what a Heisman moment. I don't know. I mean, I think a Heisman moment is not where you have to save yourself from your own mistake. I mean, I don't know. And Gunnar, that's what I'm saying. Gunnar hasn't been, Gunnar threw the interception that allowed Texas to, it's only his 3rd of the year, and he threw the interception that allowed Texas to pull within 4, but Texas never took the lead. And, again, in part because of what Kirby did, as we talked about. But Gunnar should be a Heisman finalist. We're obviously this all but locked up the playoff spot. We have a 99% chance, according to all the different metrics and things, to make the playoff. If it stands right now, we will know till the playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. But we've moved up to number 4 in the coaches and the AP poll, and that's the likely spot we'll end up in the playoff poll too. Just seems like that's where we'll be. So as a number 4 seed, now we're in the bye situation. So the positive of that is, last week, I said, look, I feel pretty good about being the number 5 seed because we would get the game against the group of 5 team at home, and then we would move on and play, the 4 seed as the team, that's got the bye. Well, last week, that team was Alabama. So now the change has been Alabama lost. They're going to be out of that 4 slot. We move into that 4 slot. Likely Texas Tech will be in the 5 slot. And so now, instead of having the downside, I guess, is instead of having a home playoff game that everybody had been excited about, now we would have the bye, and we would sit there and wait to see the winner of that first game. Texas Tech would get that group of 5 team. We'll go ahead and say they're good enough to probably win that game. And so now we got a matchup between Georgia and Texas Tech if the playoff were to start after this week. So a lot to be decided yet. That's not the end of the story. We may or may not make the SEC championship game. That's a whole complicated story. I did some breakdown on that, and long story short, we make the SEC championship game if Texas A&M loses. So if Texas can rally and beat Texas A&M, then we probably make the championship game. If Alabama were to somehow lose to Auburn, which I don't see happening, but if they did, then that would also probably put us in the SEC championship scenario. So I'm not sure that there's other scenarios there is another scenario where Texas A&M wins out and Alabama wins out, and it has to do with who wins by how much and all the other teams, because this is probably going to end up being decided by the cumulative record of our SEC opponents. And as of right now, Georgia is got the second best record of SEC opponents. Alabama's is better. So if the games play out like you think they would, Alabama probably has a higher win percentage. So if we ended up in a tie, if Texas A&M wins out and they're undefeated, they're in the game. And then you got Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia are all going to have hopefully one loss if it works. We're locked in at one loss. So if Mississippi State and Alabama win out, then they would also have one loss. And so now you have to decide that other opponent out of the one-loss teams. It's going to come down to that opponent's record. And as of now, Alabama's a couple games ahead of us. And if everything stayed the same, they'd probably stay ahead of us. There's certainly a set of circumstances where the teams that we've played in the SEC and the teams they played, different scenarios could happen where the record of our cumulative teams get better, and then we get the nod over Alabama, and we get into the SEC championship game, and we get to play Texas A&M, and that would be fun. So we'll see how that goes. Last week, by the way, nobody wants that Group of 5 spot. Last week it was South Florida ascended into that spot by getting into the rankings in the top 25. Then they lost, so they're out of there. So it's going to maybe either be North Texas or Navy or JMU or Tulane. Again, that may not matter because we may not be in that Group of 5 spot. We may be in the seeded. All the teams are seeded, but we may be in the bye. So we'll see. We talked about Bobo. Just look at the notes, scored all 5. We really covered all the stuff. So I wanted to I want to read this. I thought this was great. I love David Hale, writes for ESPN. He is one of the funniest writers, and he writes these great things. He wrote this blurb talking about the game, and said the same thing everybody else did. Georgia takes control of the SEC or of the playoff. Its playoff position looks like one of the best teams in the SEC coming alive. I love this. Let me read you this paragraph. I love he put this. He's a funny guy, so he throws funny stuff in there. And he was talking about how Stockton played great. So he said. He goes on to say, the win was a credit to Stockton, who continues his run of understated greatness this season. He threw for 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, connected with 8 receivers, and threw just 5 incompletions, and revealed that he actually solved the government shutdown by playing an emotional rendition of Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA on air guitar on the floor of the Senate. But it was a reminder, too, and here's another great movie reference I love, but it was a reminder, too, that smart is the closest thing college football has to Kaiser Soze, utterly unflappable in the face of risk because no one else has the stomach to stop him. And if you know the movie, that quote, Kaiser Soze is the mythical bad guy in the movie The Usual Suspects, which is a great movie from the 80s, 90s, I guess. Anyway, one of my all-time favorite movies. I watched it recently. I don't know that it's aged as well as I would have liked, but Kaiser Soze, the mythical villain that nobody will stand up to. I love that reference. Again, I think that totally fits how the coaching staff for Texas probably feels. But coaching staff for Texas has their own things to look at. Like I was starting to say before, I don't want to spend too much time talking about Texas. I really don't care. All I care is about beating them, right? And coaching to me only mattered when they come into this game. How are they going to do against us? In the end, how they did against us was, again, they came in and they had penalties. They didn't run the ball well. They knew they probably going to have to run the ball. They didn't run the ball well. Sarkisian is I think they said now 0-7 against, or maybe 1-7 or 0-7 against top 10 teams. So he's developing the Franklin problem, right? He's at a big school that's got a history and tradition and enthusiasm about winning college football, and they expect to be at the top and win championships. But when they come into these matchups against top level teams like Georgia, 3 times now against Georgia as top ranked, they can't beat us. So even when they were the number 1 team and we weren't, and I think one of the problems there is that Sark is usually, back when he was running offense at Alabama, he was pretty committed to getting a good run game going, and they did a nice balance. They had some teams, you think about some of those great running backs like Najee Harris and Derrick Henry. Of course, Derrick Henry was before Sark was there, but they had some great running backs, and they got a lot of good momentum from their run game. So they could run and pass, and in theory, C.J. Baxter was a 4 or 5-star recruit. Quinn Wisner, the other running back, was more like a 3-4 star recruit. But there's no reason why Texas lacks the talent to run the ball, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't know why they're struggling so hard to run the ball, but they're not running the ball well this season. And when you don't run the ball, then you put the whole game on your quarterback. You put the whole game on your quarterback, and your quarterback is still adjusting to life in the SEC. I don't know. Seems like a tough coaching choice. Look, I'm sure Sarkisian, like I'll say about most coaches, forgets more about college football than I've ever known. But for whatever reason, it looks like they weren't prepared for this game. They weren't prepared for the onside kick. They said they thought something would happen, but they obviously, weren't ready for it at that moment. And granted, part of a good bluff, part of a good poker trick like that is trying to pull it when nobody, when people know you might do it, but they don't know when you will. And certainly it didn't seem, I guess to throw a little back to Sark's credit, you don't think when a team just goes up 21-10 with 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter that they're going to risk giving momentum back by giving you the ball at midfield on an onside kick. So I can see that. And yet, and the brilliance of the play is there was nothing funny or special about it. The people out there are basically the guys we run out there, so it's hard to detect, right? Patriot. I love that this was, again, we didn't kick any field goals. This was Peyton Woodring's only real connection to the game other than his kickoffs. So, which, that's an important part of the game too. But, all right, listen, we covered a ton of stuff. Dogs win, dogs win, dogs win. All right, all right, all right. I've heard some people want to convert that to go dog, go dog, go dogs. And certainly Kirby famously did the 3 go dogs after the big win at Texas last year. So maybe that is the thing. Maybe he was just starting that. Go dogs, go dogs, go dogs. But it was a great night. And again, kudos to fans, everybody, university, the atmosphere, the light show, the wristbands, the whole, you couldn't look more impressive. You couldn't show the country, show the world, what it's like here when we do sports at the highest and best level. And that's what we did. So Dogs win. Gunner should be a Heisman finalist. Playoff spot locked up. Seeding still yet to come. SEC championship hopes still alive, but we're mostly looking at whether Alabama or Texas A&M loses for us to get there. There is a scenario where we get there without those teams losing, but it's a weird scenario and it's going to take like a lot of things happening. And the season-long question, will this team get better and better? If we get to the playoff, sure, we're going to make it to playoff because they're going to let 12 teams in the playoff. Are we one of the better 10 or 12 teams in the country? Sure, we knew that before the season started. So we've always looked at it and said, we're going to get to playoff. We've always been comparing how are we playing compared to other teams in the country. I can't just look at this and then look at what Ohio State's doing and say, oh, we got Ohio State now. We get in a playoff against Ohio State. We've got them. I'm not saying that, but we look, now we see it, right? Yes, the answer is yes. This team, get fired up. Get ready for the playoffs. This team can win the national championship. This team is good enough, and it's rounding together, and it's getting better. And the coaches believe in the team, and they are making choices too. They're calling better plays. They're finding pressure on defense. They believe in the team. This team has something special. It's not necessarily even now as dominant as teams in the past, but it has something special and it can beat anybody and it can win a championship. So let's get fired up if you weren't already. We have our answer. We've been asking that all season. Now we're just going to talk about, we're not going to question that anymore. We're just going to move on from here and say, where are we going? What's the setups? What are the potential? Who are we looking at? What are the matchups? That's what we're going to look up the rest of the way. So this is a lot. I'm thinking we'll probably be back with a podcast on Wednesday. Like I said, this is a slow week because we don't have anything to talk about Charlotte. So I got a lot of thoughts about that I didn't have time to get to about where we stand in the playoffs and where the playoff rankings were from last week that I thought about getting out before. Maybe I'll put it all together and use it. And then right after Tuesday, once the playoff rankings come out, we'll come back on Wednesday and we'll talk about that. Because again, now I think this is the conversation that's most important going forward. Yes, we're going to talk about the Tech game when we get there. Maybe there's an SEC championship game and stuff to talk about. But now, really from here on out, we believe we're in a championship run. We've got a shot at championship run. How far are we going to go? What are the matchups? Who else are we going to face? What do we want? What do we wish would happen? What's the best scenario? What's the worst scenarios? These are the things we're going to talk about down the stretch. So we'll break down the playoff rankings in detail this week. So thank you so much for being here. It's been a long breakdown. I hope you had as much fun and enjoyed this as much as I did. This is just like the season's getting more and more fun as it goes. It's been a great season. We've had a lot to enjoy, a lot of excitement. And I think this was something we hadn't seen yet. We saw the beatdown of Mississippi State and we thought they're a pretty good team and a challenge. But now you're playing a top 10 team under the perfect atmosphere, in the perfect stadium, under the prettiest venue ever, with all the best extras. And it all just came together to be a perfect night. And boy, did we have fun. So let's just revel in that and just keep thinking to yourself all week long those magic words. Go Dogs, go Dogs, go Dogs.